Welcome back, my friends, to the motorbike show that never ends. It's hello from him, and it's hello from Sasha the Guzzy Dog. Say hello, Sasha. There you go. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, let's talk a little bit about cooking in camp. Heating up your beans, heating up your water for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever. Now, let's talk about fuel first. Now, the kind of fuel you're going to use is going to be dictated by what is available in whichever country or part of the country you're going to be traveling in. Now, here in North America, Canada to be precise, this stuff is readily available. It's methanol. It's an alcohol fuel. It's used as a gas line antifreeze in cars. It's used as a solvent. It's also used in air brake systems of big highway trucks to stop the air brake system freezing up in cold weather. That's one kind. Then we've got gasoline, which is your regular pump gasoline, petrol from out of the pump, the same stuff we put in the tank of your bike. We've got white gas. I don't have a white gas can with me at the moment, but there is white gas in here. That is your Coleman camping fuel. What it is a very low octane form of gasoline. It's also called naphtha. Okay. Then we've got these little things. These are isopropane butane mixture gas, and they burn in these kind of burners. There's a larger bottle, and you can get even larger ones. And we've got straight propane. These are quite widely available in just about every hardware store. There are butane type stoves, which I don't have one, and they run on aerosol cans of butane about this big. This is not butane, but it's about the same size as a butane cylinder. You will find these in specialist hardware stores that do camping stuff. That's where you'll find that and the stoves that they go with. They're very convenient, but for me they're too big to carry on a bike, and these don't last very long, and they're very poor in cold weather. These propane, you can get them just about everywhere, so they're good. These isobutane propane mixtures are harder to find, but they are available in good hardware stores that have a camping section and in specialist camping stores. So that's those. So when it comes to burning the things, burning the fuel, there are little stoves that fit on top of these propane jobbies. I don't like them because you've got to have a solid base, and with a tall tank like this, it's quite difficult. These are quite economical. These are about $10 a piece. Used to be able to get 3 for $10, but they've gone up a lot. But you know, if you've got lots of room on your bike and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can get one of these burners for about $35 to stick on top of there, and away you go. You will need a windshield. Burners for these, again, you can use one like this which fits right on top, and you can use tiny little pans with it. Again, you've got a balance problem. You can overcome the balance problem by going for this kind of a stove. This is a Primus, and I bought this last year to give it a try. It works very, very well. It came with a frying pan and 2 saucepans and a lifter. It works very well. It doesn't tip over, and it's got a windshield, and it's quite efficient. Gasoline. Now you need to burn it in a burner similar to this. Now this is an old Optimus 8R. A bit of a museum piece these days. This is actually the kind of stove that Ted Simon took with him on his first trip around the world back in the 1970s. But the principle is still the same. I mean, there are modern ones like, the MSR, Whisper Light and Dragonfly and all those kind of stoves, but they're ridiculously expensive for what they are, I believe, anyway. If you've got a specialist use for them, like if you're going in very cold places and up in the mountains, they may work very well for that. But to me, they're just too much fiddle, and they're very expensive. I think I got this on eBay years and years ago for, I don't know, not very much, about $50, something like that. They are collector's pieces now, and you can expect to pay a lot for them. The simplest burner, and the one that I use the most, are these alcohol burners. I've tried various kinds. This is stainless steel Tonka burner. This is a genuine Trangia burner. This is a Chinese knockoff of a Trangia. You can see there's a slight difference in the holes, like one big, one small, one big, one small. Trangia, all the size, the holes are all the same size, same with the Tonka. This is the old military style alcohol stove. People call them Trangias, but they're not. Don't have a T on the bottom. In actual fact, they say Svea, however the Swedes pronounce it. So very quickly, those are the kind of burners to look out for. With these, there are no moving parts, no valves, nothing. You just light them and away you go. They are silent. These do have jets in them, but because they're using gas out of bottles, the chances of the jets blocking are virtually nil. The only way they would block is if you've got dirt in them in storage. And these are almost silent. And these make a bit of a racket. It's like a jet engine. This is not too bad because it's quite small, but the modern ones, like the freestanding ones that hook up to a bottle like this, they are very, very noisy. They kick out about twice as much heat as this. I think this is about 9,000 BTUs and they're about 18 or something like that. But I don't like them, partly because of the noise. But if you're in an area where this is your only fuel alternative, they are a viable option. So yeah, so my preference is for these alcohol stoves, the methanol stoves. They are silent and they just do their business, but they take longer. I've done tests and it takes twice as long to boil a pint of water in one of these as it does on this little gasoline stove. But again, on the other side of the equation, with the gasoline stove, admittedly you should use Coleman white gas in it, but if you can't find fuel, you can use gas out the tank of your bike, and I've done that on many occasions. As regards cost, a gallon, well, not 4 litres of methanol is about $16 in Canada. A gallon of Coleman fuel is about 35. So this boils your water. You need half. This boils it quicker, and it's expensive. That takes longer, but it's cheaper. Obviously, pump gasoline is cheaper yet. These little things, as regards cost, are, what's that say? $6.99. And the big one is, hang on it somewhere. Oh, it's $8.99. So obviously, it pays to buy a bigger one. And then again, you can get even taller ones. I don't know what they cost at the moment. Problems with disposal. Now, these things, you're beginning to see them everywhere. People chuck them out in the bush and all that kind of thing, and I don't really like that. Problem with these is you never really know how much is inside. So if you're going off for 3 or 4 days, do you take the one that's already attached to your stove that you've used, or would you take a new one, or would you take both? What do you do? So there's an element there of what's the word? Doubt. So you end up taking more than what you need. With if you're using tank gasoline from your bike, then you don't have to worry, because as long as you've got fuel in your tank of your bike, you can heat up a meal. The alcohol is fairly simple. You can look in the bottle, see how much you've got. There's these smaller alcohol bottles which actually fit in the stoves, which I'll cover the stoves in another video. So that's fairly easy, and then you can decant them. You can decant from the big one into one of these, or into a fuel bottle like this. This is a big one, 1.5 litres, but they do go down to, I believe, half a litre or 0.6 of a litre, something like that. Or you could find another container of your own. And then the butane ones, which are in cans like this, well, you've got to take 2 or 3 with them, because they don't last very long, and it's one of the reasons I don't like them. Alternative fuels like paint thinner and gasoline to use in an alcohol burner. Don't do it. I've tried it outside in the snow, and if you use paint thinner, you'll get a 3 to 4 foot flame coming out the top. It won't blow up, but it'll just be quite dramatic for a while. If you put gasoline in them, they just burn slowly with a black flame, with a smoky. They give off a lot of black smoke, and they just make a mess. There are other fuels, other alcohols you can use, and there's ethanol, which is a more complex molecule of alcohol, and then there's isopropyl alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol. They are both available in pharmaceutical sections of supermarkets. I wouldn't advise using them. Where's my little book? And the reason, hang on a second, let me find it. Here we go. And the reason I wouldn't use them is, it's because methanol, methyl hydrate, is a very simple molecule, CH3OH, and when it burns in the presence of oxygen, you just get CO2 and 4 molecules of H2O. Now, if you go up to ethanol is more complex. It's got 2 carbons in the molecule. And what happens here, in ideal conditions, you still get CO2 and H2O given off, so nothing toxic of itself there. But because you've got 2 carbons stuck together, it takes more energy to bust the molecule apart, so you do get some free carbon being given off, and you also get some carbon monoxide given off. Probably not dangerous amounts, but it is something to think of, and you will see soot on your pans. Now, this in Canada, and that we call it denatured alcohol, or this bioethanol. Now, denatured alcohol is like British methylated spirits. They add methanol to it to stop you from drinking it. Methylated spirits, they also put dye in, they put a scent in there, and they put something in to make it taste awful. It doesn't burn as clean as methanol. Some countries have very dirty methylated spirits, like New Zealand, for instance. It burns very, very black. Britain's not too bad, just a little bit. Then there's this stuff called bioethanol, which I haven't come across myself, although they do sell it here. People burn it in fireplaces. I looked it up, and bioethanol has actually got isopropyl alcohol in it, again to stop you from drinking it. Now, isopropyl alcohol is this one here, which is another carbon in the molecule. And again, this will not burn cleanly. I have tried burning this, and it gives off a lot of soot. It's terrible stuff. And the thing is, when you got soot, that's your free carbons, but you've also got some carbon monoxide there too. This is a reaction under ideal conditions, and you can see that for 2 molecules of alcohol you need 9 molecules of oxygen. And the problem is that the oxygen can't get around the big molecule and break it down under, in the presence of heat or what have you. So that's why you get incomplete combustion. And the same here, this is a bigger molecule. And for 3 molecules of oxygen, you only break down 1 molecule of ethanol. Where here, the same amount of oxygen breaks down 2 of methanol. So methanol is more efficient. And the reason I bring that up is because methanol is the only fuel that you can burn inside your tent without it giving off noxious fumes. Now, I wouldn't recommend it for obvious reasons. One of them being that somebody is going to do something stupid, or somebody's going to set fire to the tent, or somebody's going to start trying to breathe the vapors of something dumb. But in lousy weather, so you get rained in for 2 or 3 days, and you want to make a cup of tea, you can just put your little alcohol stove going in your tent. Obviously, take precautions to not set your tent on fire, and you can make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and there will be no danger of noxious poisonous fumes as if you were burning gasoline. And gasoline's dirty because it's a very, very complex hydrocarbon and needs special conditions to burn it correctly. And obviously you're not getting that in a crude gasoline burner like these. The Coleman fuel is stuff called naphtha. There is no particular formula for naphtha. Naphtha is just a big blend of hydrocarbons, lower octane than gasoline, obviously. So it's very hard to pin down what they actually put in it. I imagine they put in it whatever they can buy cheap that will burn it, within their parameters. Gasoline varies from country to country, and one area of the country from another, and from winter to summer, especially here in Canada. So you can't tell what's in it, but it's very complex. It's got lots of additives in that are to do with being burnt in a gasoline engine, and really you want to have very good ventilation if you're going to use either of those. There are some multi-purpose burners that hook up to bottles like this that will burn kerosene and diesel. Personally, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole because they're going to stink and they're not going to burn as well. And if you're on a bike, what's the point in carrying kerosene or diesel? Because if you spill it, it's going to stink to high heaven in your bags or on your bike or whatever. So I wouldn't touch it. Now, this stuff, if say you had this bottle in your bag and it punctured and soaked your bag, all you got to do is empty your bag, let the air get at everything, and it will evaporate cleanly. It won't smell, and this alcohol itself has no smell. So there we are. It's time to get back to my tea. My voice is getting a bit hoarse. So I hope that's been useful to you. I'm already telling you things that you're aware of, but that has been my conclusions over the years. So what I tend to do is I tend to carry methanol most of the time, or if I'm in an area where I can't get methanol, then I'll go to gasoline because I've already got it with me on the bike. These are okay, but they do take up a bit of room, and there's other factors involved, but They do the job okay, but they're just not quite as convenient as carrying that or that. So until next time, it's goodbye from him. It's goodbye from Sasha the Guzzy dog. Say goodbye, Sasha. Goodbye, Sasha. So until next time, rubber side down, shiny side up. Take care of yourselves, look after one another. Bye for now.